Part of our Easter dinner includes the selection of a ham. Use any kind of ham that you're comfortable with. We like spiral sliced hams for several reasons. One, it's very quick to carve, just shaving it right down by the bone and putting it right on the platter, fans right out beautifully. You can serve it hot or cold depending on your circumstances. These are already pre-cooked, so it's fine to just serve it cold. And best of all, it has a bone in it that you can make delicious other meals using that bone for flavoring. Like just plain white beans and ham hock and beans is delicious. So you've really got an additional meal. There is an art to picking out the most ham per bone ratio. You want a lot of ham and less bone. And so these hams, picture that this is half of a ham that's rounded on this end and pointy on this end, and they're just sliced right in half. Then they're both packaged like this. So if you see a display full of hams with little lumps, you look for the rounded ones if you want more meat. And if you have fewer people to serve, you might want the pointy end hams so that you can have a smaller ham. Either way, it doesn't matter. They're all delicious. But we have a picture of, in the display at Costco, you can tell the pointy ones from the round ones. And it helps if you just imagine this ham that's shaped rounded at one end and then a little pointy at the other. It's the leg of the ham. So imagine that. I have been very happy with Costco hams for years, but we discovered a local supermarket in our area called Macy's had ham spiral slice that was a little less in a cost, but it was delicious. I think it tasted better.
Yeah, I have a question. So you have the ham like that, and then spiral. Is this the end that it's not sliced all the way to the top, or is it not sliced?
Right. Okay. That's also, you get fewer slices if you get the point.
I've gotten those kinds before,
yeah,
and didn't know why. So does it go clear to the end here, or do you have a part before it starts spiral slicing?
I can't remember. I think the bone goes pretty well all the way through.
Okay.
But you're right, you get at the tip of that pointy ham, you get less meat. So it just depends on what your needs are, and get any ham that you like. We're not saying this has got to be the only ham, but it does pay to comparison shop because our local store is actually cheaper and has a better flavored ham than the Costco hams. Speaking of ham, we have a favorite story. Bonnie's an eyewitness, so she's going to give the account. We may chime in from time to time, but this is a story that will live forever in our family.
It might have even got bigger than when it started. Those kind of stories.
Let me interrupt here, because Bonnie didn't witness this. Our stepmother was on her way to church, leaving Bonnie on one end of the house and Randy on the other end. All three of them were ill, Dad and Randy and Bonnie. And so as she was leaving the house, she thought, I'll just put the ham in before church. And she had bought a ham. They used to very commonly sell ham in a can. It was always refrigerated, and you had to have a little key to open up the edges of the can before you started to heat it. It would fit just right in a baking dish. Well, she thought, if I don't open the can, I won't have to worry about a dish, and it won't dirty the oven. So she put the whole can in, still sealed in a can, and then went off to church.
So I was in my bedroom reading and minding my own business, and I heard an enormous explosion and then a crash. So I went running toward the kitchen. That's where the sound came from, and at the same time, my father and my brother Randy, we all reached the kitchen at the same time, and we could not believe what we saw. The oven door had been blown off of its hinges, and there was don't want to laugh, it wasn't funny then. But there was pieces of ham on the ceiling, the window that was not that close to the inner of the kitchen, on the washer and the dryer, all over the counters,
Clear over across the
sides.
all over the counters, through the pass-through. It was on the floor in the pass-through. My dad just said, "Oh my goodness, Randy and Bonnie, you better clean it up."
Brad came home from church about then and looked at the damage and just started picking the shreds of ham off the wall because he knew that was dinner.
That was dinner. I don't even remember what we had for
Did
dinner.
Dad have a hard time at first because he'd been in
Yes,
World War II?
and my father, who had served during World War II, when we saw him in the kitchen, his face was very white, and I realized that he had shell shock that reminded him of being during the war.
So pretty much when the subject of ham comes up, we reminisce about the, it's funny, but it wouldn't have been funny if anyone had been in the kitchen. It would have been tragic. It actually was a bomb.
So, moral of the story is don't put a sealed can in your oven with
Without
anything
opening
in
it.
Yeah, be sure you open it up.